All right, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be covering the YouTube Golf Championship recently posted by Micah Morris at Pursell Farms, and I'm going to be sharing my reactions to this video. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us. Spoiler alert, this video is going to share who won the YouTube Golf Championship. And this is technically the second YouTube Golf Championship. The first one was Bob Does Sports commentating and Grant had posted the video. So this is YouTube Golf Championship number 2. So if you've not yet seen that video in its entirety, you don't know who won, now would be the time to step out of the room because we are going to be getting into that later. For today's video, I wanted to do a reverse leaderboard discussion. So let's just walk through the 7 players, how they played, and kind of share my reactions. So we're going to start down at the bottom of the leaderboard. Wow, that was a nice little voice crack. And this place makes good coffee. They should go nationwide. All right, so down at the bottom of the leaderboard, we have Mason Nutt. I believe he shot a 4 over par. Nice birdie on the last hole. And here's a guy who, let's just be honest, I mean, he got in at 3 a.m. the night before. You could tell he was out of it right away. He yacked in the middle of the round in the woods and just didn't have his normal sense of humor and I would say like swagger. He didn't really have his swagger. So he was just out there kind of playing, trying to just plot his way around and didn't have his stuff. And I kind of noticed right away, I mean, he was, in the first 2 or 3 holes, he was acting as if he was a bogey golfer, and it really surprised me. So I don't know if he's been hanging out too much with Mac, and maybe he's just kind of being a little bit self-deprecating, or if he's actually been struggling with his game. But definitely kind of sensed that right off the bat from Mason, but he also looked like me when I walk off a plane after traveling for 24 or 30 hours, no sleep. He was in zombie mode, so he kind of gets a pass. Zombie mode, Mason Nutt. Hopefully in the next YouTube championship he can get in a little bit earlier and give it a full go. Next up we got Boucher, Canadian lefty slinger, and it's just really fun to watch him play with how much he works the ball. I just loved kind of seeing where he would line up and which way he was going to work it. So I think he adds a whole different element to watching competitive golf because of those different lines, which are just outrageous. What I'd also say about him was reading the comments after the video, and some people had said, ever since you were on Good and you got roasted, you've just completely set the bar low for yourself. Like you're kind of trying to get sympathy points by saying that you're terrible at golf. He responded and said, no, that's not the case at all. I've always been this way. I always kind of talk down myself and my game. That's just how I am. That's my demeanor. That's my disposition. I found that interesting to watch, just in the sense of like anytime he would have a wedge shot inside 100 yards, Mac would tell the other guys, hey, George, watch out. This one might catch the hosel. And I'm thinking, what in the world is he talking about? Is he trying to jinx himself, saying that he's going to shank a wedge shot? I found it a little bit bizarre, I'm not going to lie. Even when he's on the green, he'll have like a 20, 30-foot putt, and he'll say, well, I'm not expecting this to go in, you know, let's just hope for a 2-putt. Hopefully I don't 3-putt from here. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, you're acting like you shoot in the 90s. Like, you're a good golfer. And I know next to George and Wesley, you might feel like you suck, but that's because those two are in a different stratosphere. So I found that a little bit bizarre, but overall, loved watching Mac play. All right, moving up the leaderboard after those two. Next up, we should have, I believe, Micah. Micah is a guy who, it's weird that I say this, but watching Micah play, I feel a little bit like I'm watching Rory, in the sense of he's so dominant with the driver, so dominant. And if he could get his wedge game, his approach game, and his putting better, the guy would just be unstoppable. He struggled with the putter, definitely didn't have his best stuff. And I know with him kind of hosting this major, he would have liked to have brought his A game, but didn't quite have it. But I love watching him hit the driver, and it honestly just makes me want to go work on my speed training with how far he hits the ball. All right, moving up the leaderboard. Next we have Cole. So Cole and Mason, for those watching this, I mean, surely you know that those two are the Busta Jack guys, but just in case, Cole is the other half of Busta Jack. So Cole Majak is who I'm referring to. And Cole played a solid round, very solid round. I believe he shot 2 under par 70. I agree with Grant. Grant made a comment during the video that Cole's swing kind of reminds him of Freddie Couples. I completely agree with that. Like the tempo, the rhythm, the consistency. The comment section, people were calling Cole a turtle, and I think that's just so fitting. I mean, the guy he'll kind of lull you to sleep, honestly. He'll lull you to sleep and then just kind of sneak in there under par, and you're like, wait a second, I haven't heard a peep from this guy. He's not expressive, he's not loud, he's not fist pumping, but sure enough, he's hanging in the tournament. Solid round from Cole, and just a great golf swing. All right, next up we have Wesley. So Wesley finished at 3 under par. Now, let's be fair. If you saw the video, you saw the 18th hole. He did 3-putt on the last hole because he was giving that first putt a run. I mean, he ran it 5 feet by because he needed to make a birdie to put some pressure on George. He wasn't able to do it, missed the comebacker. So, I mean, really, it was more like a 68, but okay, fine. 69, 3 under par for Wesley. There's just a lot to say about Wesley's round at Pursell. I've played Pursell Farms many times. It's a great course. It's an awesome place to visit, and I love the golf course. It's also very easy. And what do I mean by that? Wide fairways, soft, receptive greens that are more on the slow side. They're smooth and slow. You gotta kind of hit the putts pretty hard. And they don't break a ton, not a ton of undulation. With that type of setup, I imagine Wesley's very disappointed shooting a 69. In fact, I would put Wesley's over-under playing at Pursell from the tees that they played at. I mean, I've played from the tips out there. I know that some of those par 5s are very reachable in 2. I'd put Wesley's over-under just on any given day at Pursell Farms at 66. So for him to shoot 69, I think he's got to be feeling like it was a 75. So not a great day from Wesley, and he kept changing his putting stroke and went to the claw, and he just couldn't buy a putt. So it was interesting to see him out of his game. I'm so used to him chirping and backing it up that when he didn't have the game, I think he kind of stopped chirping, and he just knew George is unstoppable. 3 under from Wesley. Now we're moving up to second place. How about Grant Horvat shooting a 68, finishing with a birdie? Impressed with Grant. His short putting was just steady, so steady. And I think, again, having played Pursell, the slower greens I think really favor Grant because he's a firm putter. If he's inside 10 feet, he has a lot of lip outs. You guys know that if you watch Grant play. Having slower greens allows Grant to attack because he's used to hitting it firm already. So I think his putting was unbelievable, and for him to shoot 68 and be right there and ultimately end up beating Wesley is quite remarkable. I hope to see Grant kind of chirp Wesley about having beaten him in this YouTube championship moving forward. And now ultimately we get to the winner of the YouTube Golf Championship, George Bryan. A solid performance from George, and he raced out early to several under par, and then Grant was even kind of joking with him about how he kind of plateaued and just kind of, once he hit 4 under, he just stayed there for a really long time. It could have been lower. That's the thing about George. I mean, he shot a 5 under par 67 at Pursell. That easily could have been a 64. Easily. He had so many opportunities, so many birdie looks. He still got the job done. So that's got to feel good for George, knowing I probably didn't even bring my A game. It was more of a B+, A- game, and I still won. So that's got to be feeling good for him. It really might be the year of the beast with how George is striking the ball. He's so consistent. And again, what surprised me the most is that Wesley wasn't chirping him harder. It was like Wesley thought, I need to just focus on getting my own game going because I can't make a putt. So what's the point in me trying to get in George's head if I'm not even putting pressure on him by making putts? And George is a very fitting champion. He played well, and he knows this course well. He's played out at Pursell Farms quite a lot. Several years ago, I watched a video. It might have been on Brody Smith's channel or someone else, but I'm pretty sure it was Brody and George hole-in-one trick shots, and George made 9 threes on the front 9 at Pursell. George, if somehow you're watching this, comment down below. If I'm out of left field, if my memory's wrong, let me know. But I'm pretty sure I saw on social media that George made 9 threes on the front 9. That's a 27. This guy knows the course, and he's an unbelievable golfer. So I'm so happy to see George's game really coming into peak form. I'm excited to see what happens next. And a lot of people are telling George to continue playing well in the professional events. And if he keeps playing like this, beating Wesley, who knows what's possible for George. Hats off to George. Hats off to Pursell Farms. Hats off to Martin Pursell for hosting, playing an awesome host. I love Pursell Farms. It's a course that once I saw kind of Brody Smith post about it several years ago when I was living in Atlanta, I just drove down and checked it out and loved it and went back to it. And then during quarantine, GM Golf got quarantined there, and I think it was the Good group, and they just started making tons of videos at Pursell, and then next thing you know, it's a big deal. But I think Pursell's a very fitting venue to host this type of event. For Micah and for the crew, if this YouTube Golf Championship is something that they're continuing to do maybe on an annual basis, I could see Pursell being a venue that they go back to every year, sort of like the Masters, where every year you're just so excited to see these best golfers on YouTube kind of duke it out at Pursell. It'd be a lot of fun to watch. That's going to wrap up this video. Wanted to share my reactions to the YouTube Golf Championship. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're new to this channel, please slap that red subscribe button and reach out to me on other platforms as well at The Golf Clan. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video. Mic drop and touchdown dance. I don't know why I'm doing that. I'm embarrassing myself. Bye.